So, run your race for me is all about running your own race and focusing on being better from who you were yesterday. I actually find it's easier to be extremely consistent, really dedicated. It's easier for me to be all in than half one foot in, one foot out. Ever since I started to shift that around and not placed my identity in running, that's changed a lot because running is just a component of me. It's not all who I am. If I am not careful and get my identity tied up in running, then I'm nothing without running. From March this year, 2025 to August, I ran a half marathon every single day on the treadmill. It was a Guinness World Record. I broke the record. It was currently 125 days, I believe, and I did 153. So beat it by about a month. And, yeah, it was pretty crazy. I did a half marathon every day on a treadmill. I had to have two witnesses there every single day. Also, full video recording. Got lapsed. I had to restart. Same thing if I got off the treadmill, I had to restart. So yeah, it was a lot. It was great though. I learned a lot about discipline. Biggest thing I learned about was consistency. To be able to do that every single day, like it was challenging, but it was amazing at the same time.
Hey everyone, I'm David Charlton, and welcome back to the second part of my conversation with Pierce Showe. Great to have you with me today. This episode is another inspiring one where Pierce tells me all about an incredible challenge he recently completed to get in the Guinness Book of World Records. This is where he ran 153 consecutive half marathons. That's right, 153. We go on to discuss this. We talk about what he's learned along the way. We talk about consistency, discipline, faith, and we dive into his philosophy of run your race, which overlaps nicely from running to life in general. Ultimately, it's about focusing, though, on your own journey, avoiding the comparison trap, and finding some inner strength when your motivation fades. I'll not give too much away now and let Pierce explain more. Yeah, when you say about you don't know what the science behind it is, I know things I've read about flow and being in the zone and just generally about play as well. When you're a really young kid, when when you've got little cars or I don't know, various different things that they play with. I mean, I suppose gaming's a big thing these days. Yeah, they're just immersed in it, aren't they? Immersed in the activity, and time is non-existent, really. And that's the same for any athlete, I guess. When they're playing their best and they're in the zone. So yeah, there's my little analogy there. I'm curious. So you've got a tagline which is "Run your race." Yeah, share a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So run your race for me is all about like running your own race and focusing on being better from who you were yesterday. Because I think, especially in the area of social media, we see all these people running different races and, running different times. And honestly, like a lot of times I coach athletes and they judge their times like 90% of the time based on what they see other people doing on social media or on Strava because they're comparing. And yeah, I think like I look at what other people are doing from a standpoint of, oh, that's cool, and like I look at their numbers and it's interesting. But I think if we're placing our value on that comparison and we're getting too caught up in their race, then it's going to not help us. And so that's what I focus on is like just focus on doing what you've been called to do. And it's kind of like this run your races for running, but it's a life philosophy for me as well. Like I took a very unconventional path. I was going to university and studying accounting, going to go into the corporate world. And then I felt God direct me a different way. And so I followed that, and life's been incredible. Like I've been able to experience so many more things than I could ever imagine, meet cool people and all of that. And so yeah, my whole mission behind Run Your Race is to encourage people, don't focus on what other people are doing. Focus on what you've been called to do and what you're up to, and run your own race. Because also we know that if you're in 4-hour marathon shape, it's not going to be good if you try and do the same pace strategy as someone going for 3 hours. Like it's just not going to work for you. You may stick with them for the first 1 or 2 miles, but you're going to be gassed after. And so that's why it's important to, take your own approach and don't judge yourself based on what someone else is doing.
Yeah, most definitely in social media in that respect. And as you say, Strava and things, it makes it very difficult for some people, especially I think what I've noticed when I've been working with athletes in different sports, when they've got a big event coming up, often their emotions can get heightened, so they become more nervous, more anxious, more worried. And then the danger then is you act on that emotion and you
Yeah.
start comparing, you start looking at things even more, and then you catastrophize and it just becomes a big cycle. So
Yeah.
yeah, I know often my advice is look, if you're gonna compare, do it, but just don't do it in the last sort of 72 hours or so before a race because you're gonna make matters an awful lot worse. Yeah, just interested on your thoughts around that.
Yeah, no, 100% is like you don't want to compare because it's like everyone's on a different trajectory and you don't know what they've been through or what they've gone through. So like it's like people just meeting me don't know I've been running for 7 years. They don't know I played lacrosse before that. They don't know like how many hours I've put into training. And so I'll get runners and even athletes that I coach that are frustrated because the progress is taking a little bit slower than they expected. It's like, dude, you just started running last year. I've been at this for 7 years and probably like 10 plus years because of all the running I was doing in lacrosse. And so like you're doing yourself a disservice, judging yourself based on me because physically you probably can't like progress even faster to some extent. And so yeah, that even I tell myself that, like, in things that I feel like I'm not that great in or want to improve in, it's like, dude, like, just pause, slow down. You're doing great. Focus on how you're getting better from yesterday. And if you're truly, giving it everything you got and doing all the things, like eventually you will get there. It's just sometimes a matter of time.
Yeah, yeah, no, most definitely. Going back to the whole mental toughness theme, so we touched on confidence earlier. Another aspect would be the around the commitment side, and something that seems pretty evident in yourself, given the list of achievements and accomplishments along the way, is the goal setting side. It sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you complete a race, you've achieved something, it builds your confidence up, and then you talk a lot about pushing yourself and challenging yourself and what's next. So I guess you're a big goal setter.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta have goals because goals give you direction. Like, I think that's one of the biggest things and why I've been able to run the races that I've been able to do is because it's like I set the next goal, like, even a little bit before sometimes the goal I'm about to reach. And so, like, I kinda know in the back of my mind what I'm gonna do next, or after I finish a race, like, within the next month, I'm, like, figuring out what am I gonna do next, and it doesn't have to be right after, but it has to be at some point. And so what that does is it gives me a framework to look through the lens of how I spend my time and what I'm dedicating my effort and energy to. And think about this, David, it's like if you always are working towards a specific running goal, yes, granted, you take a little bit of time after a race to be able to recover and so on and so forth. But if you're constantly like working towards something, then you don't have time to sit around on the couch and gain weight or get out of shape or do whatever people do, because you're putting in the work for the next thing. And so I always say, and it's kind of joking, but it's true. It's like you don't have to get in shape if you stay in shape. And so, yeah, I think it's like, especially with the end of the year coming around January, it's like there are a lot of people focused on getting in shape. Well, you wouldn't have to get in shape if you stayed in shape. And it doesn't mean you have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger or you got to have a six pack, but that's a big kind of mindset and motto that I live by.
I guess for you, it's a habit ultimately is keeping in shape and then exercising, running, and it's just something you do.
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, to some people, yeah, the thought of it probably stops them at the end of the day.
For sure. And it stopped me at first. And one of the things I like to tell people is like you would think that for me it would be very hard to be this way now. To how do you keep up the running? How do you do this? How do you do that? But I actually find it's easier to be like to err on the side of like extremely consistent, really dedicated. It's easier for me to be all in than half one foot in, one foot out. And I'll share this because like I went to college at USC in California, and I kind of was like teetering back and forth between like being really disciplined and motivated and running a lot, and then also like going out on the weekends, staying up way too late, going to parties, going to clubs, all that kind of stuff. And so I would Monday through Thursday be really good, disciplined, sleep well, get up early, all this kind of stuff. But then Friday, Saturday would roll around. I'd go out, I'd drink too much, I'd make stupid decisions, and then I'd sleep in till 11 a.m., eat like garbage, and feel like garbage. And then I'd try and get back on the train on Monday, and I could get on it sometimes, but it would take a lot of energy to start it up. And it's just like if you have a huge boulder or if you're trying to push a big car, it's harder to get that initial momentum than keep pushing it. Because once the car starts moving, if it's in neutral, like it will start going, but getting it going takes a lot of energy. And so that's like kind of the thing behind motivation and staying motivated and all of that is like I am way more consistent than I was before, years ago now because I don't have like those huge seasons of taking time off. And it's actually easier for me to stay disciplined and stay in it and dialed in than when I was teetering back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, I can equate that to my ice bath that I've got and how
Yeah.
if you're in there every day, then yeah, you just do it. You know what you're going to go through the next time, but it's not a big deal. But then if you have a week or a fortnight off for whatever reason, then it can be damn hard to get back in.
Literally. It's so true. That's such a great example.
So you've got your faith as well. Yeah, I'm intrigued to just to unpick faith and mental toughness and I suppose the like the spiritual grounding side to it all. How does that all work for yourself in terms of, your motivators?
Yeah. Yeah. So I really believe that, God's placed certain gifts, talents, and abilities in me that like it's my job to make the most of them. And so that's one aspect. But then two is like I really like I don't know, it's faith is like everything to me because it's like I'll tell you what running is like without it. I got into these races. I started doing 100-mile races and think about a big achievement that you have. It's like you work towards it for so long, you go after it, you achieve it, and it's great. It's amazing. It's an awesome time. But then usually about 2 days later, 3 days later, you start to come down and there start to be this like emptiness of like, oh my gosh, I chased that goal and I accomplished it, but what now? What next? And I think especially for ultra running, you have this day where you run a big race and you've been training for it for months and everyone's cheering you on and you finish it and you have this finish line experience. It's amazing. But then you go back to your normal life and the day's over, your body's also broken and trying to get back. And that can a lot of times lead to like a post-race depression because you have this big day and then, you go back to your regular life and it's not as good. You just had this mountaintop experience. And so I experienced that a couple times and I realized that I was placing my value in my achievement rather than who says I was in my relationship with the Lord. Ever since I started to shift that around and not placed my identity in running, that's changed a lot. Because running is just a component of me. It's not all who I am. If I am not careful and get my identity tied up in running, then I'm nothing without running. And when I can't run anymore or whatever, if God forbid something happen, then I'm lost. I'm done because that's where I'd placed all my identity. And that's why I think you see a lot of these athletes or businessmen who sell a company. You see them like not really know what to do after that because their identity is in the thing and not in God. And so those are a couple things. And then in every race I pray before it, and God really shows up and protects me and gives me strength. And I really believe with my faith, it's like when I get to the end of myself, God really shows up and carries me. And there's no way that I would be able to do these races without like the spiritual strength that I have, because it's like tapping into like a energy reserve fuel tank. I don't even know how to describe it, but that's kind of it. It's like when I get to the end of myself, like something happens, like I pray and someone shows up with something, or the right person motivates me, or whatever. It's one of the wildest things, but really cool. And yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. I guess when you think about the person whose identity is wrapped around their sport, and maybe their ego takes over their body language, their nervous system, the what am I trying to say here? Just I can imagine there's quite a bit of like physical pent up tension in there in comparison to what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. It makes you a lot more free when your identity's not in the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, as you say, when you think about professional athletes, when they come down to retirement, you talk about the entrepreneurs out there who are like 100% all in on their businesses. It is a really tough shift to to pivot and to make a switch there. Yeah. In terms of like I suppose the younger generation, you're a different generation to me. How would you say the your generation see mental toughness?
That's really good. It's interesting you asked this question because I'm in a younger generation. I'm 24 years old, but I definitely identify with like people older than me a lot. Like I would probably have much more engaging conversations with you than the average 24-year-old, just because I think about different things and am focused on different things. But I don't know. I think there's a rising tide of people like pushing themselves and really getting into it, and getting into marathons. And not just that you have to run a marathon to be tough, but just to like push themselves. And there are definitely pockets of people, but I mean, you got to think about it, David, too. It's um like doing extraordinary things by definition means you're extraordinary. And also like having mental toughness, I don't know. I don't know what you would say about like in other generations, but like having mental toughness is doing the difficult thing. People in our nature are geared towards comfort. And so I think there's always going to be a majority of people who take the easy road, but I definitely do think that Gen Z is not just like everyone in Gen Z isn't just someone who, is trying to avoid it and stick to comfort and whatnot. I think there is a awesome population of people who are pushing themselves, trying to discover what they're capable of, and really redefining the limits of what's possible.
Yeah, no, you hit on something there where you talk about getting comfortable, regardless of whether you're your age or my age, whatever generation. It is very natural to be comfortable, but I guess it all comes back to what we were saying a little bit earlier, doesn't it? About just setting goals and raising the bar, and as you say, just challenge yourself along the way is a vital component. Do you want to just before we look to wrap things up? Do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about like the world record side of
Yeah.
things?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So yeah, from March this year, 2025 to August, I ran a half marathon every single day on the treadmill. It was a Guinness World Record. I broke the record. It was currently 125 days, I believe, and I did 153. So beat it by about a month. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I did a half marathon every day on a treadmill. I had to have two witnesses there every single day. Also, full video recording. Got lapsed, I had to restart. Same thing if I got off the treadmill, I had to restart. And so yeah, it was a lot. It was great though. I learned a lot about discipline. Biggest thing I learned about was consistency. To be able to do that every single day, like it was challenging, but it was amazing at the same time. And yeah, so it was really challenging, but really cool. And I did it to really raise awareness for it in the United States. I'm not sure if you'd be familiar with this, but essentially the food system is kind of backwards in the sense that, there's so much processed food and all this that's leading to really a health crisis. I don't know if you've eaten in the US, but it's pretty common for people in the US to eat in like Europe or, foreign places and, you know, feel a lot better than when we eat actually here, even if you're eating healthy, just with the quality of food. And I mean, also, we don't have a lot of the regulations that they do in Europe to prevent a lot of these processed foods and fast food companies from, putting all these different ingredients in our food. And so basically, I wanted to raise awareness for that and get people moving. So that's what I did. So that was a little bit about the challenge.
Good on you. Yeah, fantastic cause. Yeah, I've been in the States a few times, and I know one of the things I've noticed is more about the portion sizes. Generally, when you're going out there, they can be crazy. And I know in the UK, a lot of companies have picked up on that, and we see a lot of it now as well. What was the biggest challenge, would you say, when you did this 153-day challenge?
Yeah. Yeah. The biggest challenge for me was doing it every single day. It was very challenging. Like to do it every single day, regardless of what happens. I couldn't travel. I went through different holidays running on the treadmill and whether I felt like it or not. And so it really taught me about the power of showing up, even when you don't feel like it. Because for the races, yeah, I have to perform in my training, but I can have a day where something comes up. I get sick or injured or whatever and take a little bit of time off and then just got to be ready for race day versus this race days every day. And so you can't afford something to happen. And so it really got me to dial in all the different areas of my life to make sure I was able to do it. And then also, just really strengthen my mindset because I mean, there were days where I had to completely restart the run and I had to run a full marathon in the day and then run the half the next day because like a camera issue where I forgot to delete the storage on my camera. And so it stopped midway through because the storage ran out. Or I had to go to the bathroom 11 miles into the 13-mile run. And so those days were tough. Like I think I had to do the cameras at least 3 times and same thing with the bathroom. Had to restart 3 times because of it. And so, it was just so challenging, but we got through it. And again, it's just proof that you're capable of way more than you think.
Did you ever, say, run on an evening, late on an evening, and then into the early morning of the next day just to buy yourself some extra time for recovery at all?
Yeah. Yeah. So usually, though, my time was always in the morning. So how I tangibly did it was I blocked out in my calendar every day, like 8 to 11 to take care of this. And so I'd run from 8:30 to 10:30. And so I had witnesses scheduled every day for about that time. And so if something happened and I run it late that day, like because I had to redo it, I already had my witnesses set up for the next day. And so I had to go early. So yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, no, the reason I asked that question was because I interviewed someone a few years ago who'd ran every single day for about 7 years at that point, and yeah, they would sometimes do that where they'd run at 11 p.m. and then through till the next day, and then it bought them, like sort of a 36-hour, nearly 40-hour window for recovery there.
That's smart. Yeah, that's really smart. But for me, I was doing it at a specific gym. And so I had to
Yeah.
work around their hours as well.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we'll leave it at that. Just about. First thing though, before we do wrap up, I'd like you to share 3 key takeaways to the listeners. What can they, what is it? What are the 3 big messages they can take away?
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Number 1, always encourage you to pursue your faith, whatever that looks like. There's a great verse in the Bible that says, draw near to God and he'll draw near to you. So yeah, faith is so important and so crucial in my life. And I wouldn't be able to do anything without it. And so I'm not telling you what to believe, but telling you that it's a very essential part of life. Second thing is that you're capable of way more than you think. I never would have imagined running a half marathon every single day 7 years ago. But as I've stayed disciplined, as I've stayed consistent, I was able to do something that I never thought was possible. And so, yeah, that's number two. And then number three, I would say is like that whole message of run your race is don't worry about what someone else is doing. Like, if you want to be great in a certain field, yeah, study the top performers. Yes, see what they're doing, what their training looks like, all of that. But it's so demoralizing when you focus on basing your chapter 1 or 2 on their chapter 20 or 25. So, like, for instance, the example of that is someone basing their running potential based on their times versus my times. Well, it's not fair because I've been running for so many years compared to you if you're just new getting into it. And so focus on your own journey, focus on being better than you were yesterday, and you'll end up accomplishing way more than you expected.
No, great advice that is. Whereabouts can the listeners and the viewers find you if they
Yeah,
wanted to ask you a question or get in touch?
yeah.
Where
If,
should they
uh,
go?
I'm primarily active on Instagram, so shoot me a message, DM there. And yeah, it'd be awesome to connect. Always love connecting. Shoot me a message with yeah, your biggest takeaway and then any questions that you have.
Fabulous. Well, look, I've loved the conversation. Been good fun, and yeah, some great stories. So yeah, a big thank you there, Pierce.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, David. And thank you so much for listening to us.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. I thoroughly enjoyed chatting with Pierce, someone who embodies discipline, faith, and perspective in such a grounded way. What stood out for me was his run your race philosophy. It's a simple phrase, but one that carries so much weight, particularly in a world where comparison, or comparisonitis, as I like to call it, is everywhere. Pierce reminded us that the real competition isn't with others, it's with who we were yesterday. When we focus inwards, that's where confidence, real confidence, freedom, and enjoyment truly begin. His story also highlights the power of consistency, showing up each and every day, even when it is tough, and the importance of having a deeper sense of purpose, something beyond medals, times, or recognition. For Pierce, that's his faith, and for each of us, it might be something slightly different, but equally grounding. So as you finish listening today, I'd like you to reflect on this. Are you truly running your race? Or are you still measuring your progress by someone else's pace? If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, a coach, or an athlete who could benefit from hearing Pierce's messages. And don't forget to check out the links in the show notes for related resources on building confidence and developing real mental toughness. Thanks again for listening or viewing, and until next time, keep challenging yourself and keep running your race. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness Podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sport psychology resources. The Sport Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.